All right, man, peace. So, brothers, this is going to be another entry into the series, Should Men Fall in Love? And of course, as you know by now, if you've been on my channel long enough, the answer is no. Why is that? Because you're supposed to love your woman, not fall in love with her. Being in love with anything in the flesh is idolatry. That's why so many men lose their minds whenever the thing that they place on that pedestal falls by the wayside for whatever reason. And you can never ever do that. Because believe me, and it's no disrespect, as I always state, the woman is just a child with breasts. They do things and say things purely for their own self-entertainment. And if it means that for the moment they say certain things to someone, not even a man, just anyone in general, they'll say whatever they feel at that moment is relevant or true at that moment. But the woman is capricious, she is whimsical, and you have to grasp that. But anyway, this edition of the Should Men Fall in Love series will be featuring Mr. Scottie Pippen. And I meant to make this video a while ago, around the time when this issue first came to the forefront, in regards to the dissolution of his marriage with Miss, or formerly Mrs. Larsa Pippen. And of course, all over YouTube and the internet, everybody had their take on it, their quote-unquote perspective in regards to why their alleged relationship fell apart. Basically, their relationship fell apart for the same reason why so many other relationships fall apart here in Western society. Because the woman is galvanized, she's motivated by two main emotions, that being boredom and jealousy. And Larsa Pippen is on record as stating that the reason why she no longer wanted to be with Scottie is because she was quote-unquote bored. That's what she alleges. So at least we have to congratulate her for her honesty. Now, of course, from the normal pro-blackity black wokety woke perspective, you have so many of these liberal black women, trying to play the racialist angle as usual. Oh, well, see, that's what Scottie Pippen gets because he was lynched and he didn't want a quote-unquote strong black woman. And you see these black men, when they get famous, they marry a non-black woman and then she takes all their money. Well, the fact of the matter is that for every Scottie Pippen and Larsa Pippen, there are 1,000 Raheem Jenkins who have to go to court every day because Taisha Jones wants to take their money for child support. Those are facts. Because Taisha got bought with Raheem right after she had the baby. So it's the same thing. It's not a color issue as much as it is a societal issue. And once again, my channel is a pro-truth channel geared towards the so-called black man. Whatever issues men in general are suffering from in this society, it's exacerbated amongst so-called black men. Because we're at the very, very bottom of the totem pole to the level where we're not even on the totem pole. And I try to stress this to brothers that in order for you to take your power back, you have to understand your current condition. Until you acknowledge your condition, you cannot improve your situation. That's how it goes. Life is very, very simple. It's not easy, but it's very simple. You just have to be able to make very hard decisions. But just in getting back to the point, as I've stated in numerous videos, the so-called black man is the #1 target for trolling of any demographic, at the very least in the Western Hemisphere, if not the planet Earth. Why is that? Because once again, they know that you're relatively powerless, especially since you refuse to hearken unto your power, that being the Most High. The so-called black man has to turn his eyes back towards the Most High, as opposed to worrying about satisfying or satiating these various groups in this society, trying to be the friend or the ally of the other races, or worrying about what the so-called black woman thinks about him. Of course, you're a functional human being. You treat people how they treat you, no matter their race or creed or religion or what have you. It's called being civilized. And of course, we have responsibilities when dealing with women, period. But especially the women of our nation, the so-called black woman. But there are a lot of components that are involved in regards to why our relationships are either successful or unsuccessful. That's why I make videos about understanding the difference between a concubine and a wife. So many brothers do not grasp this. In the case of Scottie Pippen and Larsa Pippen, their relationship, quote-unquote relationship, lasted for about 22 years. So I'll tell you this, for people who want to try to castigate Scottie Pippen as if his relationship was this epic fail, how long did your last relationship last for? Who did your woman leave you for? At least Scottie Pippen's wife stepped out on him for a world-famous entertainer in Future. Your woman stepped out on you for the dude who works at Burger King. These are just facts. So before we try to run Scottie Pippen through the mud, let's evaluate the facts. But anyway, they're going to talk about it, and I'm going to chime in.
You know who else is feeling saucy today? Scottie Pippen's soon-to-be ex-wife, Larsa Pippen. You know her. She's a big star, keeping up with the Kardashians. She's
Let me say this, brothers. Whenever you're with a woman and she's had 4 or 5 kids, however many kids they had, and she's still this concerned about, quote-unquote, maintaining her, quote-unquote, sexiness for public display, that most likely means that in her mind, the thoughts are starting to ruminate that she wants to move on towards somebody else. And a woman's attire is very important, since I'm touching on that topic right now. The woman is supposed to be dressed in a very meek manner, okay? Out of respect for you, especially if she's your so-called wife. A woman's body is beautiful, but she's supposed to display it for you in the home, in the bedroom, or in the living room, or the bathroom, or the kitchen, or wherever the hell you guys going to do y'all shit at. That's between you two. But at the end of the day, if you constantly have to remind your woman that she's dressed scantily clad and is disrespectful towards you when she steps out of the house, automatically in your mind, you should start thinking about your exit strategy. Because respect is something that is supposed to occur to the woman naturally. You're not supposed to constantly have to remind the woman about these things. Scottie Pippen, of course, probably was not taught about any of these things. But just the fact that his quote-unquote lady loved to hang out with the Kardashians, you know that she's a fame whore. And there's a very thin line between being a fame whore and a whore of every other type.
Runs with Kim and Courtney and Khloe and all of them. She filed for divorce from Scottie Pippen last week, ending their marriage of 21 years. She said it's over, not because anything significant happened this time, but she just felt like it's run its course.
And that's a very common term that's used by many modern day liberal females, that things have ran their course. Once again, brothers, the concept of marriage is an antiquated concept. They use the word to apply to a new concept, but make you think that it's in reference to the marriage of old, where you stay unified forever. And that's just not the case. Once again, marriage in this society is a corporate union. That's all it is. And the vast majority of females only want to be quote unquote married for convenience. When things are no longer convenient, they will make things inconvenient for you. By doing what? By starting arguments out of nowhere. Look, brothers, I say this all the time. And I'm sure that I will be reiterating this in other videos and covering this concept more extensively in other videos. But the woman should be more concerned with fucking you than fighting you. If you're with a woman and she's as concerned with fighting you as she is fucking you, it's time to send her on her damn way, bro. The fuck to fight ratio should be at least 10 to 1. At least 10 to 1. You should be having at least 10 copulation or 10 sexual intimacy sessions with your woman to every one fight. And that's at the very worst. Because if it's anything higher than that, that means what? The woman is concerned with bringing chaos and entropy into your life. Always remember, the essential nature of the woman is to bring chaos. That's just who she is, that Kalima alter ego. You have to be very, very wary and cognizant of these things. But if the woman is not in your life to make you happy, she has to go. Because things don't get better, they get worse when you see that the woman is conditioned to promote chaos. And she will show you these things in various ways. Whether it be that she tries to dictate things to you in regards to your professional life. Or out of nowhere, she claims that she became emotional over something that you said that was harmless. Oftentimes that's indicative of a female who is psychologically damaged or mentally fractured or what have you. These are things that you have to watch out for. That's why I tell brothers, you don't go back and forth with the woman. Life is too short to be going back and forth with a child with titties. Once the woman is concerned about fighting you as much as she is fucking you, you remove her and you find the woman who's concerned about making sure that you're happy. That's all it's about. It's pretty much a numbers game.
So a source I talked to said the marriage is done. They both recognize that. And in case she just wants to be free, in case she...
In other words, they both recognize that the marriage is done, i.e. Scottie Pippen has given up trying to rekindle that old flame. That's all that really means. He's given up because his woman has the option of being a whore in this society. Always remember something, brothers. The woman can assume her whore archetype whenever she pleases, because they have promoted for the last 40 years the quote-unquote independent aspect of the woman, All the term independent woman means is that she's a damn $2 hoe. That's all that means. When a woman tells you that she's independent, that means that she has no regard for the masculine principle, no respect for the masculine principle. She will spread her legs for whoever and whatever she chooses. Man, woman, vibrator, dildo, cucumber, what have you. Okay? So it's nothing to get emotional or caught up about. You have to listen to the woman. The woman will tell you who she is relatively early. Within the first 2 weeks to a month, you should have an understanding of who the woman is. You really should. And if you don't, it's probably because you're not listening hard enough, because it's very difficult for the woman to maintain the full facade. Her facade normally starts to crack within the first few days if you pay attention. Of course, when they have not met you or had real contact with you, they're very, very eager to show you the best aspects of their personality. That's their ambassador that you're talking to. Those first few text messages and maybe the first couple of phone calls. Maybe like the first 2 phone calls. After that, they start to incrementally show you who they are. And then it's just a matter of whether you feel like you can tolerate the nonsensical aspect of that woman. But you have to pay very, very close attention. But once again, a 21-year marriage, I don't think that Scottie Pippen should be castigated too much for that. Their relationship lasted far longer than 99% of so-called relationships in America. Now, how frequently they may have engaged in dalliances outside of their so-called relationship, who knows? If they've had a quote-unquote open relationship dynamic in their particular relationship, who knows? That's their business. At the end of the day, they were able to quote-unquote make it last for 21 years. But once again, there are certain signs that you have to pick up on. Scottie Pippen should understand that if she were to have came to him and said that she wanted money to have breast implants or ass augmentation, that's not just going to be for him. That's going to be for her next man. And then in addition to that, she loves hanging out with the Kardashians. So once again, she loves that public attention. These are all things that you have to be aware of and cognizant of. And sometimes, depending on where you're raised and how you're raised, you might not have been taught those things, or maybe the Most High did not bless you to comprehend those things automatically, because some people, they just grasp things right off the bat. But Sky didn't get it. But once again, brothers, this is not a racial issue. This society is always trying to demonize the so-called black man having options. And I touched on this in another video in regards to so-called black men dealing with women of other races. And of course, I got a lot of the over-righteous dudes coming in the comments trying to talk about Deuteronomy 7:3. And I'll be touching on that in other videos. But you have to understand something. In the same way that the so-called black man in this society today has to show the Most High that he's serious about earning back the right to be in a relationship with the Most High in regards to being blessed with understanding about this world and about certain spiritual aspects. We have to earn that right back. The so-called black woman has to earn the right to regain the trust of the so-called black man. It's the same dynamic. And so many of these wokety woke so-called brothers in the knowledge, they're dealing with the deification of the woman. They worship the Queen of Heaven. They just don't know it. That's why the so-called black man is always under attack from the so-called black woman on the internet in regards to quote-unquote getting famous and dealing with women of other races. What is the liberal black woman really saying when she tries to attack famous black men for getting with women of the other races? They're saying that you're only relevant to them and on their radar screen when you become successful. That's really what they're saying. And that's all they're saying. Because for the most part, if we're to evaluate the relationship dynamics in America and who is shacking up with who or who is linking up with who, well over 85% going into 90% of so-called black relationships are black men with black women. And when we truly evaluate and scrutinize the conditions of how the black man is being raised, black women are fortunate that there's still that many black men who want to be in relationships with them. Okay, they're very fortunate for that, especially functional so-called black men. Because the numbers tell us that, for the most part, so-called black women like to have children with dysfunctional black men. These are just facts. So the most important thing for the so-called black man is to make sure that he's focusing on the Most High. And overall, look, the so-called black woman is beautiful. She's essential. She's going to have to be led properly. But the number one thing from the so-called black man, you can't tolerate none of their bullshit, man. The so-called black woman has to understand that you have options. See, when you have options, what that necessitates is a raising in the standard of conduct. It's like in the business world. It's not good to have a monopoly, because when you have one corporation dominating the field, that means that they lower their level of operation. They lower their level of respect for the consumer. It's the same thing with relationships today. That's why they try to guilt the so-called black man into believing that he can only be with the so-called black woman. See, when you have that mentality, that means that the so-called black woman can conduct herself however she wants, because your pool of women has been slimmed down. It's the same thing with the monogamy dynamic. See, the point of having more than one woman is that when the first woman does not know how to act, you go to the next woman. So now that provides a check and a balance for these children with titties, because that's what they are. And I know a lot of people are not going to like what I'm saying. It's okay. It's all right. But deep down, even women know that, because there are so many men who are miserable right now, living in quote unquote homes, claiming to be married, basically prisoners in their own home. Their woman goes out, they cannot even ask their woman where they're going. I'm going where I'm going. Don't ask me where I'm going. Claiming she's going to get her hair done. Gone for 8 hours. Come back home, hair all messed up. Jeans got a big wet spot right in the crotch area. That's happening to a lot of these simp dudes out here, man. That's why they're constantly trying to attack the so-called black man. They're so upset with the so-called black man, and even the notion that a man has options. They try to guilt brothers into believing that they have no options, so that you believe that you have to tolerate this low-level behavior and this atrocious conduct from the majority of these oftentimes savage acting or borderline barbaric acting women. It's unfortunate. But once again, there are many good women out there. You just have to be able to find them, know the difference between a concubine and a wife-level woman, and scrutinize them. Take your time with the woman, because once again, a woman is like an onion. They have layers, and they're going to come with that ambassador approach. Oh yeah, I know a woman's place, and I know that a man is the head, and I know this, and I know that. All that shit 90% of the time is just fluff. Okay? After about a month and a half, you're going to see the same liberal bitch nonsense coming out of them, and it's just a matter of whether or not you can tolerate it. But in regards to Scottie Pippen, he got 21 years out of this horse. He rode one horse for 21 years. That's about 20 and a half years longer than the average relationship that people have here in this society. That's just a fact.
You meet somebody, or someone else comes along, she wants to experience things without having
like Takeoff from the Migos.
Maybe if he comes around and he's like, hey, I want to date Larsa Pippen, she wants to be
Hey brothers, look, the reason why they're mentioning that person from the Migos is because I'm sure that they've heard something about it. Maybe you brothers have heard that this person, Larsa Pippen, is dating one of the quote unquote Migos. We know that she was dating Future, so she probably likes rappers. It is what it is. At the end of the day, like I tell you brothers, all women are groupies. Period. Women are groupies. They're attracted to energy, and loyalty really is just based off of their options. That's it. So the less options that a woman has, the more quote unquote loyal she's going to appear to be. The more options that a woman has, the less quote unquote loyal she's going to appear to be. That's the bottom line. That's why you see these women now. They get pregnant by a dude, and then 6 months after they have the baby, they try to start some type of altercation, this cataclysmic argument that will lead to the dissolution of their relationship, so that she can run on the internet and claim that he's a deadbeat and he's stupid, he's a loser, blah, blah, blah. Why is that? Because they know that they're not going to be put through any shaming tactics by the society that they're in. They're going to be congratulated for being quote unquote strong women, i.e. utilizing their whore altar, their whore archetype. Okay? So when you're dealing with the woman, there are going to be certain spaces in your relationship where you should not marvel if she starts to spaz out or she starts to flip out. When you get the woman pregnant, when she has your baby, if you choose to marry her, when she gets around 30 years old, these are all time periods of tumult for the woman. Because everything with the woman is based off of how she evaluates herself in society in comparison to other women. The woman lives her life comparatively. All right? And many low-level men live their lives comparatively also. Many men in today's society are just males, meaning they have the outside vessel of a man, of a male, but inside they got the spirit of a woman. That's why they're so jealous. That's why they want to start arguments all the time and go back and forth like a bitch all damn day. All right. That's why I tell brothers, don't argue with the woman. You got to make sure that you have your own place. Scottie Pippen had children with this person. So, of course, he loved her to some degree. Whether or not he was in love with her, who knows? He probably was, because, I mean, at the end of the day, it appears as if the brother had, or maybe still has, an issue with some type of substance. I'm not going to necessarily correlate that to his relationship issues, but that's another thing. A lot of you brothers end up getting caught up in these substances because your relationship with your female did not work out. That's an offshoot of falling in love with the woman, of putting her on a pedestal. You never, ever, ever adhere to the notion that the woman that you're with is going to be here tomorrow. The woman is an open vessel for demons, man. You can go to sleep, wake up tomorrow, and it'd be some 5-page text with some broad talking about it's just not working out. It's just not this. Who gives a shit? It's about you focusing on things that are going to be the same tomorrow. What's going to be the same tomorrow? The Most High and His Word is going to be the same tomorrow. All right? That's the bottom line to that.
Why is that so funny, man? Why?
I'm just laughing that Scotty is cooked.
I respect that. I respect.
Scotty going to have a bad bitch by tomorrow. So you can laugh at Scotty all you want.
Respect it. If it's not working out, don't cheat on your significant other. Just divorce them and move on.
Move on.
And that's all that is right there. That's a piece of meat. A lot of times, these females in America say, men treat women like a piece of meat. Well, you know what? Women know that for the most part, they're just a piece of meat. Because within 2 seconds of you talking to them, what are they sending you? They're sending you pictures of them scantily clad, half naked, or fully naked. That's what they do, because they know that that's what they're bringing to you. They're bringing their meat to you. Another term or colloquialism for vagina is their meat. Right? I mean, it is what it is. Certain people might get upset by that, but I mean, at the end of the day, especially in the modern day time period, where men have become self-sufficient, what else are the majority of women bringing to the table, especially if you're a man of wisdom? So if the Most High blesses you with a wife material woman, meaning a woman who is supportive and understands how to see things on a higher level, so that she did not destroy herself or her relationship by giving in to carnality or simplicity, you've been blessed. But the average woman is just like this. She's just a piece of meat. And it's okay. You don't get caught up in this, bro. You never, ever, ever get caught up in the woman and that concept of quote unquote falling in love. And people will try to get you to do it, not because they think that it works, but because they did it, and misery loves company. All right? Misery loves company.
She is unbelievable. Scotty is cooked. He will never get another girl of her caliber. Oh,
bitch, please. This broad is pushing 50 years old, and she's a damn builder bitch. I mean, who gives a damn? That's like looking at a human doll. That's all that is. Scottie Pippen could go to the club tomorrow and pull 3 or 4 broads who look better than this. That's not a big deal. In Proverbs 31:3, it tells you to not give your strength unto women, man. You never ever give your strength unto women. What's it talking about when it says your strength? It means your items, your soul, your will. You're never ever supposed to make yourself subject to the woman. That's why I tell you, brothers, if you're going to move in with your lady, no problem. Make sure that you're making enough money to have your own place on the side. Now, of course, if you're moving in with her out of necessity, that's something different. But if you're going to move in with her out of necessity, you better make sure that the paperwork is correct and that your name is on the lease. If you're staying with her as basically a vagabond, you better make sure that you're working on your plan to have your own place. You better make sure that you're working on that. And on top of that, depending on the type of woman that you're shacking up with, if she senses that you're trying to save up to get your own place, she may try to come down on you as a tyrant. All right, so there are a lot of components that come with dealing with the female. But just in regards to the Scottie Pippen situation, look, once again, he got 21 years out of this horse. Okay? Ask yourself how many years you got out of your own horse. And don't fall for this nonsense about black men get famous and start dealing with non-black women. The percentage of black women who start dealing with non-black men when they get famous is far, far higher The vast majority of the attacks and the troll jobs on black men is just projections. Many of these other demographics, they project what they want to do or what they would like to do if they were in that position on black men. The vast majority of so-called famous black men are with black women. That's a fact. And once again, the vast majority of so-called famous black women, if they are with a black man, it always has to be a black man who's also famous, at least as famous as them, if not more. Very rarely are you going to see a so-called notable black woman with a regular black dude who's a plumber or a mailman. It's just not going to happen. All right, and I don't mind that because the genders are not equal. But just stop telling me the lie that they are equal. Right? Be real about it. Be real about the fact that there's far less expected of the woman as there should be because she's a child with breasts.
I'm just sorry. Scotty's 53. It's over.
By the way, that's the most ridiculous thing I ever heard of.
You think Scotty is going to get 100?
Before we get to the Scotty thing, this is what happened last night. Larsa Pippen, days after filing for divorce. I know.
Now look at this broad, Larsa Pippen. Look at that area right underneath her breast, right around her stomach. I mean, come on. That should look like somebody threw acid on that part of her body. That's a big fucking joke.
Scotty is done.
Days after filing for divorce, Larsa Pippen went out in Hollywood, West Hollywood last night to Haley Baldwin's Pretty Little...
The real issue is that, at least in regards to Scottie Pippen, what he should be paying attention to is that his daughter is going to be heavily influenced by this person. And that's something that you brothers have to watch out for, man. Once again, when you initiate these relationships with these women, make sure that you observe her mother. Observe how she interacts with her mother. Observe what she says her mother has told her about men. Because not only is that going to determine how seriously you should take her, it's going to determine how she conducts herself. It's also going to determine what she teaches your daughter or her daughter should you have a child with her. These are all things that we have to pay attention to. Because whores teach their daughters to become whores.
Little thing premiere in an outfit that had everybody talking. I mean, everyone was looking at her going, good Lord, Larsa Pippen. One.
Right, but that was the point. The point is that she went to the party looking for some famous black dude to fuck her. Because she's a whore. Scottie Pippen had children with a whore. But I'm going to hit you with something. About 90% of men in America are having children with whores.
One the whole night.
You have one objective when you go out like that. Like, you are looking to meet a man.
Okay, I mean, maybe.
No, not looking to meet one, looking to fuck one.
Here's the deal. Look, man, she met a guy right there. That guy's helping her out.
Yeah.
That guy's gigantic.
Yeah.
But this is what I'll say. I'll say that I bet that just on aesthetics, I'm not speaking to the core of this woman or who she is inside. Because she's
Van Lathan, I don't think that you could reach the core of this woman at this point.
Because she's a very nice lady, has children. I'm not speaking to any of that stuff. Just
Dudes are so funny with that stuff. Oh, well, you know, she has children, so I'm not going to say anything mean about her, quote unquote mean. Really truthful. Let me tell you something. There are serial killers in prison that have children. If they're wicked as hell, it is what it is.
just off aesthetics, I think Scotty can bounce back with somebody who's better looking.
Absolutely. I mean, give me a break. These broads out here, they just come on. Like I say all the time, pussy is great, but pussy is like pizza. It's on every corner.
I don't know about
53-year-old Scotty.
Look, are y'all lying?
Yo, this is not 96,
do y'all not know where y'all live? This is Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, we're living in Los Angeles in 2018. It's not 1994 anymore. Scotty's done.
They gonna show a young picture of Scotty. This looks like this from like his rookie year with the Bulls.
You see guys around Los Angeles who look way worse than Scotty Pippen. They're rich and they're famous.
Of course. I mean, come on. There's 70-year-old dudes out here who are dating 22-year-old chicks. Like all that age shit, that stuff that gets pushed by Western society to once again try to propagate this false notion that men and women are equal. In other societies, especially in the Eastern cultures and going back to antiquity, as long as a young woman was of age, meaning 18 or upward, she was fair game for any guy, who wanted to bill himself as a suitor or a possible suitor for her. And most of these broads out here are dating older men. Scotty can land a broad, no problem.
And they have chicks that are better than that. I'm sorry. I don't know if you guys have been getting out of the house lately.
See, she's dumb enough to believe that one of these rappers is going to wife her up. If Scotty's 53 years old, that chick Larsa has to be at the very least in her late 40s. So she's not going to bag up any rapper. Nobody's going to take her seriously. Some of those guys will be willing to blow her back out. After a while, within the next 5 years, she's going to have so much plastic surgery that she's going to start to look like one of those cat ladies. Those are just the facts, man. Scotty will bounce back better than her if that's what he chooses to do. He might just choose to chill out. Who knows? It's up to him.
First off, you know the answer to that. Second off, who's gonna rebound harder? Is it gonna be Larsa? Because Larsa runs with an A-list crowd, or Scottie Pippen, who also runs?
Larsa Pippen runs with an A-list crowd. You mean an A-list of plastic-built bitches? Give me a break.
Who's gonna rebound stronger?
Larsa is gonna have a better. She's gonna fare better in the rebound department.
I think so too.
Probably,
so why don't you just argue with me and then say
no, because she's.
What he's possibly referring to is that Larsa Pippen is going to rebound publicly by having herself appear with certain rappers, you know, who of course will give her some rod. I mean, that's not difficult. Most of these rappers are pansexuals. They'll fuck anything.
She's gonna get somebody higher profile, is what I mean.
Absolutely, for now.
But if you're just talking about raw hotness, Scottie Pippen can do. Scottie Pippen, he's rich, and he's Scottie Pippen. He can go get one of these girls and subsidize them. And he can do whatever.
Simple as that. That's all it's about. Just put some broad up and just subsidize them. 70% of these broads out here are single, no matter how good they look.
He wants, man. Like, yeah. Is it just me? Like,
no, it's not just you, bro. I understand what you're saying. It's just that the two dudes around you are a couple of cornballs. But anyway, once again, brothers, that will end this video. But in response to the hypothetical question of should men fall in love, the answer is no. Not in a Babylonian society, not in a righteous society, because you never, ever, ever put anything fleshly on a pedestal. You just can't do it. And that's why so many cats are out here bugging out, crying into the camera, uploading videos of them looking like a $2 hoe themselves over some chick that quote unquote left them. A woman cannot leave you unless you think that you're keeping her. You cannot keep a woman in this society. Okay? The woman is not your property in this society. When you read the scriptures, the woman or the wife of a man was his property. She was not his equal. You have a lot of these clowns out here trying to act like they could teach the scriptures, and they want to tell you about, oh, the wife is your equal partner. None of that shit is real. When you read the scriptures, the 10th commandment tells you what? Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, his ass, his ox, his manservant, his maidservant. What was it listing? It was listing all of your neighbor's properties. All right? Manservant, maidservant, ox, ass. Those are all entities that a man would use as servitude. And the first thing that led off with was the wife, because the wife was a servant. Right? She was property of the man. It is what it is. That's why when people take their vows today, when they get married, they took out that part about obey. The woman no longer has to obey you. I have no idea why you want to be with a woman who does not obey you. What the hell could you possibly be getting out of that? Unless you're one of these simp dudes who wants to argue with a broad all day. Because that's all that you're going to do. People wonder why these relationships are so tenuous. You're trying to operate with the woman like she's an equal to you. The woman's not an equal to you, man. That's a child with titties. It's okay if she doesn't accept that. You just let her go. Let her go be a baby mama for somebody else. She's saving you money and aggravation. But anyway, peace.